It's time for overtime.
Stop what you're doing and listen.
In the world of sports, it's all about the playmakers in today's headlines, from locals to the pros, with interviews from local standouts and sports all-stars across the country that will have you talking.
Still going. Good night. Touchdown.
Hear from coaches to players, sports analysts, and broadcasters who are a part of the action every day. Overtime, now on ESPN 102.3 and AM 1000 KSOO, Sioux Falls sports leader.
Right back with you on a busy Monday edition of Overtime. Appreciate you being with us as always right here on ESPN 102.3 AM 1000 KSOO. Let's dive into your scorecard. Still to come, NBA playoff stage is set, and we're going to make some picks, deliver the odds, and much, much more. The latest from the NFL, pair of draft previews today, the Los Angeles Rams and the Cincinnati Bengals. Also still to come, the latest and greatest in the good, the bad, and the ugly. Finals from yesterday from the NHL hockey world. Carolina over Chicago 4-2 from the Windy City. Seattle loses in St. Louis 4-1 as the Blues have been eliminated from postseason consideration, but get the win 43-33-5. Their record right now. Elsewhere took overtime to settle the slate between the Avalanche and the Golden Knights from Vegas. Vegas finds a way to win on home ice.
Marchessault gets it back. Left wall for Eichel. Half a minute on the power play. Eichel scores! Top of the left circle. Jack Eichel in overtime. The Golden Knights win it after trailing by 3. They defeat the Avalanche 4-3 in overtime.
Audio there, KKGK, 4-3 in overtime. New record for Vegas, 44-28-8. For the Avalanche, they fall down to 49-25-7. Other final of note yesterday, Calgary won at home against Arizona 6-5. The Flames are 37-38-5. Tonight in the NHL, Canadians at Red Wings, 6 o'clock on ESPN+. Wild visit the LA Kings. That's an 8:30 start time on ESPN. NBA Finals from yesterday, the conclusion of the regular season. Washington lost to Boston yesterday, 132-122. The Celtics finished with an NBA best record of 64-18. Other finals of note, Indiana wins at home over Atlanta, 157-115. And Denver finishes the job, finishes the season on the right foot, despite not earning the number 1 seed. Nuggets pick up the win in Memphis, 126-111.
Watson got it out there by G.G. Jackson. He goes to the left hand. Goes out on top over to Reggie Jackson. And a 3. Good for Reggie. Nuggets lead at 113-93 in the final regular season game of the year.
Nuggets win at 126-111. Audio there courtesy of Altitude Sports Radio. Final regular season mark for Denver this year, 57-25. Just one game better than the Minnesota Timberwolves, who lost yesterday against Phoenix. The Suns got out to a great start, doubled up the Timberwolves in the first quarter. 125-106 was the final. Minnesota is the 3 seed in the Western Conference playoffs. And here's head coach Chris Finch on his team's mindset, gearing up for the first round.
I think, yes, there is a different mindset. There's definitely a different mindset coming into the playoffs this year. Last year, when you're in the play-in game, it's literally like try to survive and advance like NCAA tournament style. So, you don't have the same amount of like preparation or, whether it be mental or physical, as you do when you have a week to prepare for the playoffs.
Lakers won yesterday as well over New Orleans, 124-108. OKC officially your 1 seed in the Western Conference, 57-25 with a 135-86 win over Dallas. And Golden State gets the win over Utah, 123-116.
The other way is Chris Paul. Behind the back bounce pass to Thompson. Open 3. Knocks another one down.
He's got it on autopilot right now.
95-7 the game there. We've got the night off across the NBA, but the play-in tournament officially starts tomorrow. You got the Lakers at the Pelicans from New Orleans, 6:30 on TNT. Winner of that one faces the second-seeded Denver Nuggets, who Greeny says the Lakers should avoid.
I'm going to say something in duck because I know that it is controversial. And I know that it flies in the face of absolutely everything that the spirit of competition was born to create. And you just said, Herman Edwards, you play to win the game. The Lakers should not play tomorrow night. They should not play LeBron. They should not play AD. They do not want to be the 7 seed. You want to be the 8. I'm taking my chances in a one and done at home against either Sacramento or Golden State and go in against the very young OKC Thunder in round 1 instead of going into the buzzsaw that is Denver. I think it is worth the risk.
Call me crazy here, and I'm going to say something in duck as well. I agree with Greeny. That's not what I'm ducking about. I agree with him. The Lakers' best business decision is probably to lose that game and try to win the following game and face off with OKC instead of Denver. A lot of people, myself included, have Denver in my top 2 NBA teams. But I'll say this, why and what are we waiting to prevent this from happening? This is a bad look for the NBA, the fact that you can intentionally lose, and again, your back will be against the wall. But why not? Why don't we revise this first-round play-in game and give the winner of the 7-8 matchup the opportunity to choose their opponent in the first round? If you think you match up better with the 1 seed, choose the 1 seed. If you think you match up better with the 2 seed, choose the 2 seed. I think that's as choosy as we can get it, but that would rule out anything like this in the future happening, because if LA comes out and they rest their starters, if they come out and they don't play well, if they come out and they may intentionally or not play well coming up tomorrow night in that play-in game, that's a bad look for the NBA. And I know that they still have to win to get in the following game, as they'll see the winner of the other play-in matchup. But why and what is preventing us from go ahead and saying winner of the 7-8 matchup gets to choose who they play in the first round? I like that idea. I don't know what we're waiting on for that, and that would definitely get rid of a potential intentional loss if it does come to fruition. I don't necessarily think that would happen, but Greeny pitching that today in favor of the Lakers avoiding the Nuggets in the early portion of the Western Conference playoffs. Also coming up tomorrow night, 10th seed Warriors against the 9th seeded Kings from Sacramento, 9 o'clock on TNT. Wednesday night, same deal, but the Eastern Conference, the 8-7 matchup is the Heat and Sixers from Philly, 6 o'clock on ESPN. Hawks at the Bulls, 8:30 on ESPN. And those 10-9 matchups, loser of that contest is eliminated. Winner of those games moves on to face the loser of the 7-8 play-in matchup. The other matchups that are set in the NBA postseason, Phoenix Suns and the Minnesota Timberwolves, Dallas Mavericks and the Clippers. Other matchups, Pacers and the Bucks, Magic and the Cavs. Tim Legler says the Pacers could and they very well should beat the Bucks in the postseason.
Indiana could beat Milwaukee if Giannis was fully healthy going into the postseason. The way that they played against him in the regular season, and also just their style of play. Milwaukee's the one team that is not going to slow Indiana down. And if Indiana gets humming offensively, Milwaukee is in deep trouble. Whether Giannis is 100% or not, they play 2 bigs a lot, and that is exactly what Indiana picks apart, because you've got to run back, and then you've got to funnel out to the three-point line because they take early quick ones. So I think Indiana is in a great spot here to play the Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis is clearly not 100%. And if he doesn't play at all, you're in great shape. But even if he does, I think the style of play is a problem for Milwaukee.
Agree with that, and Indiana's been dominant against Milwaukee in the head-to-head matchups this year. Indiana, for what it's worth, coming off of a big win, and Milwaukee coming off another big loss to Orlando, 49-33 the overall record for Milwaukee, even when Giannis is healthy. And in the lineup, something just ain't right with the Milwaukee Bucks. They fired their coach mid-season. They get an upgraded coach, or at least so everyone thought. It immediately started paying dividends out of the All-Star break and then faded down the stretch a lot. Not just 1 or 2, but a lot of stupefying losses and inexcusable losses for the Milwaukee Bucks down the stretch. They are not long for the postseason NBA world. I wish they were. I got a lot of commonalities with those folks out there in Milwaukee. I would love for the Bucks to go on some sort of run, but everything is pointing towards an early exit from the postseason. If not Indiana, then the early stages of the next round for the Milwaukee Bucks. They are currently the 3 seed in the Eastern Conference playoffs. Major League Baseball finals from yesterday. The Cubbies get a big homer to crack it open, finish the job with a 3-2 win in Seattle.
Bush waits for the 2-2. Here it comes. High fly ball hit to deep right center field. This may go. It's gone. Another moonshot for Michael Bush. He's homered in 4 consecutive ball games, and the Cubs extend the lead. It's now 3-0 over the Mariners here in the 4th.
Cubbies hang on for a 3-2 win. New record for Chicago, 9-6. Audio there, WSCR. Other finals, Milwaukee lost in Baltimore yesterday, 6-4. Colorado blanked on the road in Toronto, 5-0. Kansas City lost to the Mets on the road, 2-1. And the Minnesota Twins clashed with Detroit over the weekend. Detroit gets the final game of the series, 4-3 the final.
3-2, swinging a little pop fly into right center. It's going to drop for a base hit. Canna in to score. Tigers take the lead. 3 in the 8th inning. And a 4-3 lead here in the 8th.
Final score, 4-3 Detroit. Minnesota's new record, 6-8. Tigers boost their mark to 9-6. And other games quickly before we dive into your AL Central standings. The Guardians pick up a win over the visiting Yankees in extras yesterday. 10 innings to settle the score, 8-7 the final. Cleveland now 10-5. Other finals, Cincinnati won in Chicago over the White Sox 11-4. And St. Louis was shut out on the road in Arizona, 5-0. Your latest AL Central standings, the Cleveland Guardians, as they were Friday when we departed, still in the top spot in the AL Central, 10-5 the record. Kansas City is 10-6, just a half game back. Detroit 9-6, that's a full game back. And Minnesota is 6-8, 3.5 games back. And the Chicago White Sox in the cellar right now, 2-13 on the season. Major League Baseball today and tonight. Across the way, Guardians and Red Sox are underway. Twins at Orioles, 5 o'clock pregame, 5:35 the start time. Other matchups of note concerning our area teams and AL Central squads. Rockies at Phillies, Rangers at Tigers, Royals at White Sox. Other games, Padres at Brewers, Cardinals at Athletics, Cubs at Diamondbacks. Those last two games, 8:40 projected start times. Now on to the NFL. The draft just over 1 week away. One of the many polarizing names, polarizing quarterbacks in this year's draft is J.J. McCarthy, national championship winning quarterback at Michigan. Here's Jeremy Fowler on the value of J.J. McCarthy in this April's draft.
I've now talked to 3 different teams who tell me that they would be surprised if J.J. McCarthy does not go in the top 6. Now, if a team wants to get up there, you got the Giants at 6, you got the Vikings are a threat. They've been calling, potentially looking to move up. Raiders, a lot of teams need a quarterback, so there could be some movement around McCarthy. I've talked to multiple scouts who said he had one of the best pro days that they've ever seen. So there's a belief that there is high-level traits here. Not everybody's sold. There are scouts who say he's not even a first-round pick. Very polarizing, but others that are high on him, you could see some movement.
J.J. McCarthy, one of the top 4 or 5 quarterbacks in the NFL draft this year. There could be as many as 6 go in the first round. There could be 8 tackles taken in the first round, 4, 5, 6 wide receivers as well. Should be a lot of fun. A week from Thursday kicks things off from Detroit, April the 25th through Saturday the 27th. NASCAR race over the weekend. Chase Elliott won at Texas. Next race is Sunday at Talladega, 2 o'clock broadcast start time on Fox. And of course, PGA Tour final from yesterday. Scotty Scheffler gets the job done at Augusta.
Scotty Scheffler putter back and in. Scotty, he's done it again. Scotty Scheffler, for the second time in 3 years, is the Masters champion.
Scheffler finishes at 11 under par, second win at Augusta, and as you heard there, second time in the last 3 years. Into your ReliaBank headlines of the day now. As always, for a better local banking option, see them in Sioux Falls at their brick and mortar location or online at ReliaBank.com. South Dakota, 19-25 overall, took down Omaha 5-1 to give the Mavericks just their second league loss of the season yesterday. USD softball boosts their record to 19-25, 4-7 within the Summit League. Corey Wedeking started in the pitcher's circle for USD, and McKenna Young finished the game for the Yotes. Wedeking went 2 1/3 before Young took over and pitched the remaining 4 2/3. Summit League play continues on the road for USD Coyote softball as they travel to face St. Thomas on April 20th through the 21st out in St. Paul. South Dakota State's comeback bid in the late innings came up a run short as the Jackrabbits dropped the decisive game of a 3-game Summit League baseball series against Omaha yesterday afternoon. Final score was 10-9. Omaha now is 9-22 and 8-7 in the Summit League, while the Jackrabbits dropped their record to 15-18 and 7-7 respectively. Mavericks jumped out to a 4-0 lead, also built their advantage to 10-1. Too little, too late for SDSU, but an impressive comeback. They ultimately fall by the final of 10-9. Up next for SDSU, they move forward. 2 squads scheduled to play another 3-game series later on in May at Irv Huther Field in Brookings. And Omaha now takes an all-time lead in the series, 94-87 90-1. Now moving forward with your Reliabank headlines of the day, 24th rated Augustana baseball earned its NCAA best 9th shutout of the season in a 4-0 win over Winona State. The win closed out the 5th weekend sweep of the Vikings and extended their win streak to 10 games. Right now, Augustana 27-6 on the season and an NSIC best 19-4, while Winona State fell to 13-22 and 10-15 within the conference. Jack Hines continued his remarkable season, going 4 for 4 with a triple, RBI, and runs scored. 3 different Vikings reached with a double as Dre Dirksen, Max Mosser, and Tate Miners each collected 1. Vikings return to action middle of the week, Wednesday, traveling to Wayne State for a doubleheader, which gets started at 1:30 in the afternoon. Been pretty darn quiet from Tuscaloosa lately for Kalen DeBoer, as he called the entire day over the weekend special. And as Alabama wrapped up their first spring practice with DeBoer as its coach in its annual A-Day game over the weekend, his players said they can't wait to see what's next. Quarterback Jalen Milroe, offensive guard Tyler Booker both said the positivity, confidence, and energy that DeBoer and the new coaching staff have exhibited since their arrival have been exactly what the program has needed, with Nick Saban calling it quits and retiring after his legendary coaching career. Booker has yet to see his new coach flinch from the first time he met him with the team. That's why he's the right guy for the job, Booker said. I feel like whoever took this job had to have heart because they knew who they were succeeding after Coach Saban. So just to be able to have the wherewithal to take the job and have the pride to do so, he has my respect. Anyone who took this job would have my respect. A crowd of more than 72,000 folks turned out Saturday at Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa for DeBoer's debut in an offense versus defense scrimmage that saw the offense build a 31-0 lead and then hang on for a 34-28 win in a specifically designed scoring system. Saban, who watched the game from a suite with his family, attended the A-Day Walk of Fame ceremony before the game and joked, "I'm one of you. I'm one of the fans now." Nick Saban hangs it up. Kalen DeBoer takes the mantle down there in Tuscaloosa, and that is a big number. 72,358, the reported attendance for a spring game down in Tuscaloosa for the new chapter of Alabama football. Speaking of new chapters, definitely a new chapter out in Lexington, Kentucky. Days after the John Calipari coaching move had the coach out of town, Mark Pope stood on the podium in front of a sold-out crowd at Rupp Arena yesterday during his official introduction. Kentucky's new coach, who signed a 5-year, $5.5 million per season deal, said he's aware of the expectations around the program. "I understand the assignment," Pope said. "We're here to win banners as we go through this journey. We're here to win banners in Nashville at the SEC tournament because you guys turn out in Nashville like nobody else, and that matters. And our job here and our assignment is here to win banners in the Final Four, national championships. That is our job." Pope's arrival marked the latest step in a surprising sequence of events that has changed the SEC and men's college basketball. 3 days ago, Calipari was introduced as the head coach at Arkansas following a 15-year tenure at Kentucky that included a national championship back in 2012. Kentucky, widely considered one of the top jobs in the sport, had reportedly pursued elite candidates such as UConn's Danny Hurley, Chicago Bulls head coach Billy Donovan, Baylor's Scott Drew, and Alabama head coach Nate Oates. After the school failed to land some of their most coveted and preferred candidates, Pope, who is a member of Kentucky's 96 national title team, emerged as the athletic director, Mitch Barnhart's pick of choice. Pope previously coached at both Utah Valley and BYU and officially introduced yesterday as the head man at Kentucky for basketball. Speaking of college basketball, as we round out your Reliabank headlines of the day for hour number 2, some news in regards to declarations for the NBA draft. Duke's top 2 scorers from last season, All-American Kyle Filipowski and ACC All-Freshman selection Jared McCain, are entering their names in the NBA draft. The sophomore Filipowski led the Blue Devils in scoring and rebounding, 16.4 points, 8.3 rebounds per game. The 7-footer increased his draft stock this season, making a case to be a lottery pick. As for McCain, second on the team, 14.3 points per game in only his second season. Duke was a 4 seed in the NCAA tournament, ended up losing to NC State in the South Regional Final. Other big news, and I mean big news for a big man, UConn's 7'2" sophomore Donovan Clingan, one of the cornerstones of the Huskies' back-to-back NCAA championship teams, will also enter the draft. The number 3 prospect in ESPN's top 100 list, Clingan is expected to be in the running to become the number 1 overall pick in June after a dominant late season and NCAA tournament run. Clingan leaves UConn for the NBA after a historic high school and college career. Before joining Dan Hurley at UConn, Clingan became one of Connecticut's all-time scholastic legends for Bristol Central High School under Coach Tim Barrett. Clingan said in a post to social media after his 2 years at UConn, quote-unquote, exceeded all my dreams and expectations. Donovan Clingan, just 20 years old, could be the top pick in the NBA draft in the near future. Those are your Reliabank headlines of the day for hour number 2. When we come back, let's dive headfirst into the NBA playoff talk. I'm not going to finalize my picks yet because we got some time before the series gets started, but I'll let you know what I'm thinking. We'll talk the latest odds and who is prime to be upset in the first round of the NBA playoffs. We'll dive into that all and much, much more when overtime continues after this, right here on ESPN 102.3 AM 1000 KSOO.
Streaming live online and with the app, this is Overtime with Bert Ramin on ESPN 102.3 and AM 1000 KSOO, Sioux Falls sports leader.
Right back with you. It's the Monday edition of Overtime right here on ESPN 102.3 AM 1000 KSOO. Rookie center Chet Holmgren unzipped his black hoodie sweatshirt when asked how the Oklahoma City Thunder celebrated earning the Western Conference number 1 seed as he showed off his blue Northwest Division Champions t-shirt that was handed out in the locker room. The Thunder took a team picture to commemorate the occasion after Sunday's dominant win over the Mavericks, who rested all of their starters and a few key reserves, then shifted their focus to preparing for the playoffs. I wouldn't say celebratory so much as it's just kind of recognizing the fruition of all the hard work that we've been putting in. Holmgren said, "We're not in the position we're in by accident. There was a lot of dedication and hard work that went into it. But we're not celebrating because what we're trying to do, we're not there yet. So we're still eyes on the prize. We are locked in." Oklahoma City entered the final day of the regular season in a 3-way tie for first place in the West with the Nuggets and Timberwolves, the first such occurrence in NBA history. The Thunder finished with a 57-25 record, as did the defending champion Nuggets, but OKC owned the tiebreaker. As a result, the Thunder are the youngest team to earn the number 1 seed since seeding began back in 1984. That's according to ESPN Stats and Info. OKC has an average age of just 23.9 years old, weighted by playing time, which is almost 2 years younger than that of the 04-05 Phoenix Suns, the previous youngest 1 seed in NBA history. Thunder superstar Shai Gilgeous-Alexander saying, "It's super surreal. It's fun. Obviously, you play to win. It's more fun like that. But I think it goes back to us chipping away at it every day and not worrying about the past or the future, just chipping away, seeing what gets where that gets us, and thus taking that mentality has allowed us to get here. So yeah, it feels good, something to be proud about. We've got a lot more work to do." The Oklahoma City Thunder, the 1 seed in the Western Conference. Lastly, before we dive into some playoff talk about those series that have been confirmed and have their opponents set and those that are still waiting for the results of the play-in round. Phoenix Suns guard Grayson Allen got paid today, agreeing on a 4-year, $70 million contract extension that also includes a player option. The deal keeps Allen out of unrestricted free agency this summer and rewards him for a career-best season that very few saw coming. Leads the Suns in includes scoring 13.4 points per game, 3-point shooting of 46%, assists of 3.1, rebounds per game 3.9, and has started 73 games this year after landing with his 4th team in the last 6 seasons. Some would construe Grayson Allen as a journeyman and journey no more. 4-year extension for the 28-year-old, eager to re-sign as part of a lineup of Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Bradley Beal that allows him tremendous space and room to operate on the floor. Grayson Allen, well-deserved 4-year, $70 million extension with the Phoenix Suns. Now play-ins coming up tomorrow night. Lakers and the Pelicans, Golden State Warriors and the Kings for the Western Conference. In the Eastern Conference, Wednesday night, Miami and Philly. Winner goes ahead and gets that 7 seed. And Atlanta and Chicago later on that evening. Loser of that one out. Winner of that one faces the loser of that 7-8 game. Now for the matchups that are officially set. You got Orlando and Cleveland in round number 1 in the Eastern Conference on Saturday. Phoenix and Minnesota, Western Conference. Tickets as low as $74 for that from the Twin Cities, according to ESPN.com. Other matchups that are set, Indiana and Milwaukee, Dallas and the LA Clippers. Let's talk about those matchups first, the ones that are set. Orlando and Cleveland, I'd lean Cleveland there, even though that one is definitely the least spicy of the 4 to start it out. Phoenix and Minnesota, that's going to be quite the test for the Timberwolves. I have a lot of confidence in Minnesota this year. Am I as confident in them as I am in the Nuggets? Absolutely not. And I would say I'm a little bit more confident in what Minnesota has, the experience that they have, and the overall kind of confidence that Minnesota has over OKC. I would give them that. I would put Minnesota as my second favorite team in the West right now. And I know there's a lot of teams behind them that are more experienced, that could be hotter, could be better in the right moment. But Minnesota has earned the spot they're in. And they should be better than the 3 seed. It was just a weird year where you had a 3-way tie in the final stretches of the season, and down they came, and Minnesota ended up as the 3 seed. Not a great look there. But they did play pretty well down the stretch, all things considered. Minnesota and Phoenix, I like Minnesota. I'm confident in them and what they can do. They open up the postseason on Saturday. Other matchups, Indiana and Milwaukee. Give me the Pacers there. And I'm not holding punches there. And I'm not saying that just to say that. Milwaukee has something very, very toxic and wrong with their team right now. Indiana has beaten them up to the tune of a 4-1 record so far this year head to head. I like the Pacers, assuming they can play their game. And if Giannis is out, even more so, I like the Pacers in that first round. Indiana will upset Milwaukee in the first round. LA Clippers and the Dallas Mavericks, the other matchup that's set that begins on Sunday for game 1. I like the Clippers. A lot of things are pointing towards Dallas, putting things together. But I'm not so sold on the Mavericks right now. According to DraftKings Sportsbook, by the way, Mavericks are one of the top teams as far as title odds go. Here are the latest odds. Boston Celtics at plus 160. Everyone saw that coming. Denver, at times, looked like the best team in the NBA this year. I still think head-to-head, if they can get there, I like their chances against Boston, but that's a big if for Denver. A lot of quality teams in the West. Denver second with plus 280 odds. A gigantic margin between second and third. The Clippers have the third best odds to win the NBA Finals, plus 1,200. Milwaukee Bucks, plus 1,400. Count me out on that. OKC is fifth, tied with Dallas at plus 1,600. A little further back, the Suns, plus 1,900, tied with the 76ers, who have vaulted their way back into contention and consideration. Minnesota Timberwolves, ninth best odds. They've hung around 9th and 10th throughout the year, plus 2,500. And the LA Lakers, with the 10th best odds, standing alone at plus 3,000. That's the latest odds and the latest blurb on the NBA postseason. Surely a lot more to talk about and a lot more to get hammered out between these play-in contests. By the way, how do you feel about what I talked about earlier with that play-in matchup, the 7-8 matchup? Because we heard Greeny talking about, hey, if I'm the Lakers, I rest my starters. I let New Orleans win that game and move on to take on the 2-seed Denver. I'm going to do my best to lose that game and come out and win the following night at home or Friday night at home to go ahead and set up an opportunity for me to take on OKC instead of Denver. Should the winner of the 7-8 get their opportunity to choose who they play between the 1 and the 2? What do you think about that? Is that a decent idea? You can always weigh in 605-362-3776. When we come back, we're shifting gears. We're talking football, NFL draft just next Thursday. When it gets started from Detroit, we'll preview the Rams and the Bengals, give you the broad strokes of NFL news over the weekend as well. That's next, right here on Overtime.
ESPN Super more of Overtime with Bert Ramin on ESPN 102.3 and AM 1000 KSOO, Sioux Falls sports leader.
Right back with you, hour number 2 on a Monday. It's overtime. I'm your host, Bert. You can track me down at any time before, during, or after the show at Bert ESPN on Twitter. Time now for the latest from the National Football League. Pro Football Talk at NBCSports.com has some pretty cool news out there. It'll be the 30th season in the history of the Jacksonville Jaguars franchise this fall, and they're marking the occasion with a nod to their history. The Jaguars announced on social media today that throwback uniforms are on the way. No details have been announced of the look of the throwbacks, but they'll likely be reminiscent of the 1996 team with Tony Vaselli, Mark Brunell, Keenan McCardell, Jimmy Smith, and Kevin Hardy, which made a surprise run to the AFC Championship game. Now, let me ask you this question before we dive into more NFL news. When it comes to NFL jerseys, NFL helmets only, what is the one helmet that you would like to see come back full time? Full time. Because I have an obvious answer, at least that hits kind of close to home here. And I'm not talking the obscure, the Green Bay Packers brown, or the Philadelphia Eagles weird striped winged helmet, or the Bears winged helmet. I'm talking about the classic helmets that had some staying power. The Jacksonville Jaguars old helmet, far superior to the new one. Far superior to the weird color transition one they had in the mid-2010s. The 1996, 1998, 2000 Jags helmet was pretty darn good. It wasn't a sweet, it wasn't an awesome helmet, but the logo was better, the look was better. I like the shiny finish to it. I wish they'd bring that back full time. I'm not saying it's one of the tops in the NFL, but for me the answer is obvious, and they might be soon bringing back something similar. But when it comes to a team that needs to bring back their old jerseys, needs to bring back their old helmets, what comes to mind, and their jerseys and unis right now are not bad. I really do like what they have. But the Denver Broncos' old orange crush unis, orange uniform with the blue helmet with the orange D and the Bronco on the side, that was a really sharp look and one that I think should be back in the NFL, at least kind of. I would love to see Denver wear those uniforms more often because they're absolutely classic. You don't have to bring back the orange. I understand that is a secondary color for Denver. They want to roll with the dark blue, want to roll with that light blue, dark blue mixture. But that helmet, absolutely amazing for the Denver Broncos of the 80s before they changed to the Denver Broncos of the 90s. Now on to your NFL news. The Eagles have inked a deal, an extension with Devontae Smith. Former Heisman Trophy winner has agreed to a 3-year extension that ties the wide receiver to the team through the 2028 season. Terms of the deal not yet disclosed, but a source did tell ESPN's Adam Schefter that the contract is worth roughly $75 million, $51 million guaranteed. Smith was the Eagles' first-round pick in 2021, and the team has already picked up the 5th-year option on his rookie contract. He surpassed 1,000 yards in each of the past 2 seasons and has had more than 100 catches in all 3 of his NFL seasons. Pretty good start to his career for Devontae Smith, rewarded with a big contract extension, 3-year extension worth $75 million. Devontae Smith will be an Eagle at least in the near future through 2028. The Seahawks are signing veteran guard Laken Tomlinson to a 1-year deal. That was news from over the weekend. 32-year-old was cut by the Jets back in February. Gives the Seahawks some depth and starting opportunity and options in that offensive line unit there. And other receiver news. Not Justin Jefferson news, still waiting for that, but T. Higgins news. One of the biggest question marks of the Bengals offseason appears to be trending towards a resolution. Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins anticipates playing for the team next year. He told reporters at his youth football camp on Sunday. Higgins, who is entering his 5th year in the league, had requested a trade earlier in the offseason after Cincinnati placed the franchise tag on the wide receiver. Higgins said, "I do anticipate it." Said according to a video posted by WXIX-TV, "I've grown to love Cincinnati and I didn't think I would. I'm looking forward to it, as in playing for the Bengals this season." For the past 2 years, Higgins and the Bengals have been unable to come to terms on a long-term deal. Two sides have made little progress ahead of a 2023 season that saw Higgins battle injury. And now this year, same story, different time for T. Higgins, still at an impasse with the Bengals, but anticipates playing for the team this fall. The Indianapolis Colts have locked in another key piece of their core to the future in a continuation of moves made this spring. The Colts have inked an extension with defensive tackle DeForest Buckner. as of today. Sources told ESPN's Adam Schefter it is a 2-year extension for $46 million and now runs through the 2026 season for DeForest Buckner. That's the latest transaction-wise from the NFL. And again, so much news continuing to trickle out, including some troubling news regarding other wide receivers in the NFL. Pair of updates here. CeeDee Lamb, according to Pro Football Talk, is not at Cowboys voluntary workouts. Not a big deal. They are voluntary. And in other news, Brandon Ayuk hasn't, quote, officially requested a trade, but it appears as though he's pretty darn unhappy in San Francisco, at least right now with the Niners. Brandon Ayuk could be another guy that maybe, just maybe, could be moved around the NFL draft. Some veterans could be traded, not too often that we see that in the NFL draft. Now for your draft previews coming up Thursday, round number 1 next Thursday. Let me clarify, coming up next Thursday, round number 1 of the NFL draft, round 2 and 3 on Friday, and then rounds 4 through 7 to round it out coming up a week from Saturday. Pick number 19 belongs to the LA Rams, a team that famously had said, hey, we're not interested in draft picks. They've got 11 draft picks this year, tied for the most in the National Football League. They've got 1 in the first, 1 in the second. They've got 2 3s, 2 5s, 4 picks in the 6th round, and 1 pick in the 7th round. The Rams, 10-7 last year. Biggest needs: they have a huge hole to fill at defensive tackle following the retirement of Aaron Donald. They got a hole to fill at edge rusher, cornerback, tackle, and some special teams help. So what makes sense for the LA Rams? They're going to have their pick of tackles that fall to them, because there's 8 that could go in the first round. A lot of those guys might end up being guards in the NFL, but they'll have their pick. Amarius Mims might fall there. Graham Barton might fall to their spot. Cornerbacks, I think a big opportunity for the Rams with so much draft capital, including 2 3rds, 2 5ths, and 4 6th-round picks. Look out for the Rams potentially to trade up for a falling cornerback. Who could fall? Quinyon Mitchell could fall down. Maybe Cooper DeJean falls a little bit, and the Rams value him highly as a special teams guy, as a guy that can make an immediate impact on defense. The guys that could fall in their lap, though, Nate Wiggins, Kool-Aid McKinstry, could make sense at corner. And then edge rusher, Leatu Latu of UCLA, Chris Braswell of Alabama, Chop Robinson of Penn State certainly make a ton of sense. And at defensive tackle, you're looking to make a difference. You're looking to find somebody that surely, more than likely, will not even be close to what Aaron Donald was. You don't need to be a Hall of Famer. You don't need to be a world-class guy. If you could just be a pretty darn good football player, that's probably good enough for the Rams at defensive tackle. Jerzon Newton, Chris Jenkins makes sense as the next nose tackle, next interior defensive lineman star on the LA Rams. 11 picks for the Rams coming up in the NFL draft. Now to the Bengals, pick number 18 in this year's NFL draft. They've got 10 total picks this year. 1 in the first, 1 in the second, 2 3rds, a 4th, a 5th, 2 6s, and 2 7s. Big needs for the Bengals. 9-8 finish last year without their quarterback for the majority of the season in Joe Burrow. They need offensive line help. We feel like it's a broken record in Cincinnati. Last 3 years, gotta protect Burrow. Gotta protect Burrow. Gotta protect Burrow. Offensive line, defensive line, cornerback, wide receiver. And what do we mean there at wide receiver? Is it a stud? Is it a depth piece? Maybe both, because T. Higgins might be out of town, and you still need to figure out Jamar Chase's future. But right now, the tackle, defensive tackle, corner, wide receiver, and tight end. So at tackle, same deal as the Rams. If a tackle falls down, they really like him, whether it's Amarius Mims, Graham Barton, Fuaga, whoever it might be. The Bengals should have an opportunity to take a tackle or 2 in the early portion of this year's draft. 10 total picks, so tackle makes sense with a few of those picks. Cornerbacks, DeJean, Mitchell, Kool-Aid McKinstry. Defensive tackle, same deal as the Rams. Jerzon Newton, Chris Jenkins, the names that are kind of in their spots in the middle of the second round, in the middle of the first round, could make sense for either of those guys. And then I'm going to call for a trade up for Cincinnati. And what do I mean by that? We've talked about the star power they've had on offense with, of course, T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd. He's a free agent, more than likely not back, but we'll see what happens with Tyler Boyd. But Cincinnati, interesting piece here as far as them trading up. They could trade up not for a quarterback, and they could trade up not for an impact offensive lineman, but they could trade up and try to accumulate offensive linemen in the mid-rounds and trade up for a guy that will make their offense unbelievably dynamic. Hear me out here. People talk about a generational talent. There's a huge gap between him and everyone else at his position. Why don't the Bengals trade up 5, 6, 7, 8 picks and get Brock Bowers on that offense with Joe Burrow? They were heavily criticized for passing up on offensive line help when they went and got Jamar Chase for Burrow. That's worked out pretty darn well for Cincinnati, to the tune of a Super Bowl appearance and to the tune of a couple big, deep playoff runs. I think you continue to stockpile that offense. You lost your running back this offseason. You lost your wide receiver 3. Why don't you go get Joe Burrow another dynamic weapon and really lean in to his era and his young portion of his career as the lead quarterback there in Cincinnati. That's your pair of previews today. The Rams and the Bengals coming up tomorrow. As far as draft previews go, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Seattle Seahawks. Pick 17 and pick 16 in the NFL draft. Draft coming up next week, Thursday through Saturday. We take the break. We're back to round out the show with the latest edition of The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. That's next on Overtime.
Get ESPN with the free app and online. Grab your phone or call us up on your smart device. Now let's get you back to Overtime with Bert Ramin on ESPN 102.3 and AM 1000 KSOO.
Final segment of the day on tap. It's time for the good, the bad, the ugly as we recap just that. The good, the bad, and the ugly throughout the sports world here just about daily on the show. Let's hit it. Time to round out this Monday edition with the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Who's been the problem child today? Displayed their ugly side. Whined a bit too much and is now setting a bad example? Bert is calling out today's headline makers with the good, the bad, and the ugly.
The good, the bad, the ugly. We got some college football to talk with you. We're in the middle of the off season, but certainly a lot going on. Spring games and the like. We had a couple spring games hit close to home over the weekend. Spring showcase, spring preview, whatever you want to call it. Spring game football is back, and Cam Rising is back with the Utah Utes right on schedule. In his comeback from a severe knee injury, Rising led the offense for 3 series. In Utah's spring football game on Saturday, the senior quarterback had a strong outing in his first live game action since sitting out the entirety of 2023, throwing for 208 yards and 2 touchdowns while completing just 15 of 19 passes. He led the Red Squad to a 41-21 win over the White. And Cam Rising, back for another year of college, his 6th season with the Utah Utes, said, feeling strong. I've been accruing a lot of reps, and it's good to be out there with the guys making plays and watching them go. Speaking of football, college football, pro football, and the intersection of the two, Hines Ward back in the news. He's been hired as Arizona State's next wide receivers coach. The school announced yesterday, I'm truly honored to join Arizona State University football as wide receivers coach. The Super Bowl MVP not too long ago, 2-time Super Bowl champ, said in a statement on Sunday, it's an incredible opportunity to share my passion for the game with a group of talented young men and help them reach their full potential. The culture and energy here in the Valley is special, and I can't wait to be part of it. Hines Ward, look out for those receivers blocking. Look out for those receivers physicality-wise moving forward. That's a big get for Arizona State. Hines Ward, the new wide receivers coach for the Sun Devils. Bad news for Ohio State, but good news for a local kid. Ohio State coach Ryan Day and offensive coordinator Chip Kelly said the Buckeyes are still not ready to name a starting quarterback coming out of Saturday's spring game. Kansas State transfer Will Howard is currently battling junior Devin Brown and 5-star freshman Julian Sayin, who originally signed with Alabama before enrolling at Ohio State. Also, sophomore Lincoln Keenholz and freshman Air Noland also got snaps in the spring game. Pretty darn cool for the former peer standout Lincoln Keenholz there in Columbus. The reason that this is bad news is I'm not actually concerned with Ohio State's talented quarterback. What I am concerned with, though, is last year, and it didn't end up mattering too much, but last year, Ohio State had a quarterback controversy. They were sharing reps, shared reps in the first game, shared reps in the second game. Took them a while to figure it out. And championship programs, championship caliber programs generally don't have quarterback controversies. I think the more that you can express confidence and build around an individual, and the faster you can do so, the better off you'll be. End of speech there. I'm happy to be wrong on Ohio State, but right now, still not naming a starting quarterback. The presumptive starter will be transfer Will Howard. But Devin Brown also a decent amount of playing time last year there in Columbus, battling Howard and a few other marquee recruits of the past. Now to the bad and the ugly news of the day. Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice was apparently driving 119 miles an hour before causing a 6-vehicle crash last month down in Dallas. According to the arrest warrant affidavit obtained by the Dallas Morning News on Friday, Rice's Lamborghini Urus reached 119 miles per hour just 4.5 seconds before the collision. According to the affidavit, a Corvette driven by SMU wide receiver Teddy Knox was traveling 116 miles per hour just 7 seconds before the chain reaction collision, before slowing to 91 just 1.5 seconds before the crash. The crash on North Central Expressway, U.S. Route 75, left at least 7 people with injuries, and the two cars reportedly, according to the affidavit, made multiple aggressive maneuvers to get through traffic. Rice and 4 other men were seen leaving the scene of the crash without seeing if any of the injured needed help. We're getting more details by the hour, by the day, and it's still really darn ugly for Rashee Rice and his involvement in that big accident down in Dallas. That's the good, the bad, the ugly. That is our show today on Overtime. We're going to do it again tomorrow from 11 to 1. Can't wait for the rest of the week of the show. Hope you stick around. We'll talk to you then when the next edition of Overtime rolls around right here on ESPN Sioux Falls.